On this episode of Southall Computing, we're going to be doing another camera review on a GS9000, and that's coming up next. Hey YouTube, Dan from Southall Computing, and today we got another car dash camera review, and this one also has GPS and supposedly the H.264 video compression. Fortunately, the last three reviews that we tried to do with the H.264 video compression, that was not the case. Every single one was still motion JPEG. Nothing bad about motion JPEG other than the actual file sizes. For example, a 3-minute clip at 720p runs about 400 megs on an SD card. So we're hoping that this one actually has it. So without further ado, let's get this thing unboxed and see what we got. Okay, so now that we got everything unboxed here, what do we have? Very unusual to find this in these particular car DVRs. It's a HDMI cable that will obviously hook up from this camera to your TV, which is nice. Actually, I see, right there. HDMI, which was very nice. Very unexpected to get this. USB cable to hook up to the computer. A driver CD, which I'm kind of surprised about that. The USB cigarette light adapter for power. And a suction cup, but this one actually has a built-in receiver, so I'm wondering if I have to hook this up into here when it comes time to get a GPS signal, or, oh, actually no, I take it back. That's where it actually hooks into the GPS on this guy right here, so that totally makes sense. Okay, we briefly looked at the instruction manual here. As always, very basic, if we can even get to the English part here. But it's actually better than the ones that we've seen in the past as far as explaining the function and whatnot. So pretty interesting to see this thing in operation. But we'll take a quick peek at all the menus real quick. This time around, we're gonna, whoops, we dropped it. There it is. We're going to be using a G.Skill 32 gig micro SD card for this experiment. And yeah, let's get this going. Oops, there's actually a lens cover here. Okay, so MSC, that's if you want it to be in the computer mode, so you could actually mount it. So there's charge, open. Let's see what charge does real quick. Yep, charging is just charging. Nothing special there. Okay. So I'm assuming we should just go to open. Okay. So, obviously, definitely... Oh, look at that. It's doing 1080p at 30 frames a second, which is pretty neat. I think it's recording right now. Or maybe not. Let's see. Oh, now it's recording. Okay. Well, that's a nice little 1080p test right there. Okay. So let's see what we got here. So these look like select buttons, or I should say navigation buttons. Mode is probably changing it from camera. Oh, nice. Okay, well, I guess we'll do the menus first. So, yeah, that's 1080p at 30 frames a second, and let's see if we could change it. Okay, so all you have to do is select it. Apparently this will do also 60 frames a second at 720p. Very cool. Or 30 frames. Okay, so that's it. It's either 1080p or 720. So I like doing the... actually, we'll try both. I'm very curious to see the 60 frames a second. Let's see if this moves us down. Yep, that's exposure. Audio on. Where you want to record audio. White balance, contrast, sharpness, effect. What is effect? Vivid. Monochrome, negative. Oh, okay. Wow, you could actually put video effects on. Pretty cool. Recycle. Oh, okay, so every 3 minutes, it's gonna do a clip. Delay, IR lights. Okay, MD sensor. Not sure what that is. We'll have to look that up. Okay, so the other set of menus here are obviously English. Volume on that. Setting the date, the clock. Ooh, TV out. We want to change that. Oops. And then go down. English. Date. Auto off in 3 minutes. We want that a little bit longer. It's basically going to turn off the screen after 3 minutes, so I want it 5, 3, okay. Let's do 5. Okay. LCD off, G4 sensor, okay, GPS, yes. Okay, so that pretty much is everything in the menus. Definitely different software here. We've never seen this type before. We're going to get in the car, take some video clips as always, and see what we got. We'll be back. Okay, so what we have here is the 1080p setting, and I have to actually say, oh my god, it's true 1080p. It's only taken about, I don't know, 7 of these car camera, dash camera views, and we actually have a sensor that's capable of capturing 1080p. I'm at a complete loss of words. I can't believe it myself, and that's pretty much all I have to say about that. It blows my mind that those other cameras advertise that they're quote-unquote 1080p capture capabilities, but this is the first one that we reviewed that actually does it. So here, pretty standard stuff you see on the screen here with the date and timestamp in the upper left-hand corner. The upper right-hand corner is customized text. You don't see that too often on any of these dash cams as well. And thanks to the GPS receiver, we have our speed in the lower left-hand corner. The only thing is I couldn't find a way to change it to miles per hour, so it's pretty much stuck on kilometers per hour. So this here is a 720p nighttime capture, and again we are 2 for 2. This is probably the best nighttime capture I've ever seen out of all the cameras. I know one of them was way better than the others, but that's pretty much comparing apples and oranges here. This one blows away that miniature car DVR. This, I mean, you could actually see where the city lights are illuminating and other parts of the landscape that are actually illuminated as well. So I can't believe it. I'm gonna applaud this camera here for being 2 for 2. Usually you get an awesome daytime and a terrible nighttime view. So kudos to them for getting a 2 for 2 awesome score for these guys. So, final thoughts on the Blackview GS9000. For starters, I want to get the bad things that I didn't like about the camera over with. We're going to start with the GPS built-in sensor here. It was extremely difficult to get it to work. I'm going to say I had a 50% success rate with that sensor. Half the time it didn't even want to work, and what you're supposed to do is when it's mounted into your car, you're supposed to plug the USB cigarette light adapter into this port here, which will also charge this car DVR. Unfortunately, when you do that, there's a 50-50 chance that it may or may not work. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't power anything up, and this is basically an overpriced suction cup at that point. So, kind of disappointed that the GPS sensor didn't work all the time. The second thing that I didn't like about this camera was this driver installation CD. First of all, there are no drivers for this camera, so why they even put that on there was kind of silly. What's on the CD is basically a codec pack, so you could play the H.264 videos off the camera on your computer, and there's a copy of the same application, one in English and one in a foreign language. Now, unfortunately, neither of the applications work, and when you try to launch them, you get an error message, and it's all gibberish. It's not in any particular language, and therefore I have no idea how to fix it. So I'm assuming it's some sort of map software for this, but I could not get it to work. The third thing that I did not like about this camera was the $82 price tag. Now, we're going to go over all the great things that I love about it in just a second, but honestly, I don't think it's justified by an $82 price tag. Okay, so what did I like about this camera? Well, for starters, as I stated before, we got true 1080p capture. Hallelujah. This is probably the 7th or 8th camera I've reviewed that had quote-unquote 1080p capture capabilities, but this is the first one that actually did it. And not only that, it'll actually do it at 30 frames a second if you want it to. And to boot, it actually records in the H.264 file format. So what does that mean? A standard 3-minute clip at 720p on the other cameras would net you about 400 megs for each file size. This particular one here, on the 720p setting, a 3-minute file will net you about 150 to 170 megs per file, and that's over 50% savings, so you could obviously record a lot more with these particular cameras. The next thing that I liked on this, excellent audio quality. This one by far had the best microphone and audio setup that I've seen on all the cameras. Everything is clear. The engine noise, somehow they are able to mask it, and the conversation in the cabin definitely could be heard without having to strain your voice. And lastly, excellent night vision. As I stated in one of my previous dash cam reviews, there was one in particular, this camera here, which unfortunately doesn't have a model number, but it did way better than all the other cameras that we previously did a dash cam camera review for, but that's not saying much. The other ones were all pretty poor, but this one was just marginally better. The GS9000, however, man, what a difference, and you see it in our actual footage there. Anywhere where a city light illuminates the ground, you'll see it. If there's lights in a building or a gas station, you'll see what's going on in there as well. So again, I applaud Blackview here for their excellent 2-for-2, true 1080p, and actual night vision. So great job, guys. So the question is, do we buy it or toss it? If you got the money here, this one is definitely gonna get a buy it rating. True 1080p quality and the H.264 video compression make this camera absolutely worth it. I honestly think this camera could be a little bit lower on the price point, but I honestly enjoyed reviewing this camera. This, again, by far is one of the best cameras that we've done to date, and it's gonna set a very high bar for everybody else to try to surpass this particular model. I just wish that GPS sensor wasn't so cumbersome at times. Other than that issue, I was definitely able to look past it and enjoy the rest of what the camera had to offer. So that pretty much wraps everything up here. If you like what you saw in the video, obviously give it a big thumbs up, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. It would be greatly appreciated. This is Dan from South Hall Computing, and as always folks, until the next time.